The transparent dome of the Galactic Alliance headquarters stretched over Elliot Moore's head, revealing the vast expanse of space, dotted with stars and distant planets. He stood at the viewport, watching as ships of various designs and origins docked at the space station. Some were sleek and almost invisible against the black backdrop of space, while others were massive and adorned with ornate carvings that told the history of their species. Elliot adjusted his diplomatic uniform, taking a deep breath. The recycled air inside the station felt sterile and slightly metallic compared to Earth's rich atmosphere. Today marked his third month as Earth's representative to the Alliance, and he still hadn't made significant progress in gaining respect for humanity. "Ambassador Moore, your presence is requested in Conference Room Alpha," announced the station's AI in a neutral tone. "The Scientific Assessment Committee is ready to begin their evaluation." "Thank you," Elliot replied, straightening his back. This was the moment he'd been preparing for since his appointment. The corridors of the station were filled with beings from across the galaxy. Some floated through the air on gossamer wings, while others slithered along the floor or walked on multiple legs. Despite the diversity, Elliot noticed the common thread in their interactions with him. Sideways glances whispered, conversations that stopped as he approached, and the occasional contemptuous stare. Conference Room Alpha was a circular chamber with tiered seating that rose around a central platform. As Elliot entered, he saw representatives from 12 different species already seated. At the highest tier sat the assessors, 7 ancient beings that represented the founding members of the Alliance. "Ambassador Elliot Moore of Earth," announced a tall, spindly creature with translucent skin that revealed a complex network of pulsing organs. "Please take your position at the platform." Elliot walked to the center, feeling the weight of dozens of alien gazes. He had been a respected scientist on Earth, known for his work in biological adaptation and his diplomatic skills. Here he was just another representative of a primitive species seeking admission to a club they might not be worthy of joining. "Thank you for this opportunity." Elliot began, his voice firm despite his nerves. "Earth is honored to be considered for membership in the Galactic Alliance. We bring with us thousands of years of culture, scientific advancement, and a unique perspective that we believe will benefit all members." A rumbling sound that might have been laughter came from a gelatinous mass of purple tissue that occupied one of the lower tiers. "Unique perspective," translated the station's AI. "The Zorak representative finds humor in your claim." Elliot maintained his composure. "Yes, unique. Every species here has evolved under different conditions, developed different solutions to survival, and created different cultures. That diversity is what makes the Alliance strong, is it not?" One of the assessors, a being that resembled an elegant insect with compound eyes that shimmered with intelligence, leaned forward. "Human, your species has only recently mastered rudimentary space travel. You have yet to colonize even your own solar system, system effectively. What could you possibly offer that would benefit species who have been crossing the void between stars for millennia?" It was the same question, in one form or another, that Elliot had been fielding since his arrival. Earth was seen as a backwater planet, its inhabitants as underdeveloped curiosities at best and potential threats at worst. "Perhaps it would be better to show you," Elliot suggested. "I formally request that the Alliance send a scientific delegation to Earth to assess our world and its potential contributions." The chamber filled with murmurs and the equivalent of raised eyebrows across a dozen different physiologies. "A bold request," said another assessor. This one a crystalline entity whose voice resonated like a bell, but not unreasonable. "The Alliance protocol does call for thorough evaluation before membership decisions. I move to approve the human's request." After a brief discussion, the motion passed. Elliot felt a surge of hope. This was his chance to change their perception of humanity. "The delegation will depart in 3 cycles," announced the insectoid assessor. "Prepare your world, Ambassador Moore. We will see what Earth truly has to offer." 3 cycled about 2 Earth weeks wasn't much time, but it would have to be enough. Elliot sent an urgent message to Earth's unified government, outlining the situation and the need for preparations. Then he began compiling data on Earth's atmosphere biology and resources that might interest the Alliance. The scientific delegation consisted of representatives from 5 different species, each with expertise in different fields. They traveled aboard a sleek Alliance vessel that made the journey to Earth in a fraction of the time it would have taken human spacecraft. Elliot accompanied them along with Lena Sato, Earth's leading xenobiologist, who had been working tirelessly to understand alien biology and how it might interact with Earth's environment. "I'm concerned about environmental compatibility," Lena confided to Elliot as they approached Earth. "Our atmosphere, our bacteria, our radiation levels, they're all calibrated for human life. We don't know how these beings will react. That's why we've prepared the containment facilities," Elliot reassured her. "They'll be safe and so will Earth." The delegation's ship entered Earth's orbit and the aliens began their scans of the planet below. High-powered sensors mapped the continents, analyzed the oceans, and sampled the atmosphere from orbit. Elliot watched with pride as images of Earth's diverse ecosystems appeared on the ship's screens. The Amazon rainforest, with its incredible biodiversity, the deep ocean trenches teeming with life, the majestic mountain ranges, and the sprawling cities that showcased human ingenuity. But his pride turned to concern when he noticed the delegation members exchanging alarmed glances as they reviewed the atmospheric data. "What is it?" he asked. "Is something wrong?" The leader of the delegation, a being named Zorix, who resembled a cross between a praying mantis and a jellyfish, turned multiple eye stalks toward Elliot. "Your atmosphere," Zorix said, mandibles clicking in what Elliot had learned was agitation. "It contains approximately 21% oxygen." "Yes," Elliot confirmed, puzzled by their reaction. "Oxygen is essential for human life. Our cells use it for energy production through respiration." "Oxygen," said another delegate, a gelatinous entity named Bloop, whose body undulated with waves of bioluminescence, "is highly reactive and corrosive to most Alliance species. In these concentrations, it would be lethal to nearly 80% of known sentient life forms." Elliot exchanged a shocked glance with Lena. This was unexpected. They knew that different species evolved to breathe different atmospheric mixtures, but they hadn't considered that Earth's life-giving air might be viewed as toxic by the galactic community. "But how do you?" Elliot began. "Our ships and stations generate custom atmospheric conditions for each species," explained Zorix. "The Alliance standardized environmental adaptations millennia ago. But an entire planet generating such high levels of a toxic substance, this is unprecedented." The delegation's initial curiosity about Earth quickly turned to fear. Their planned surface exploration was canceled, and they remained in orbit, conducting remote scans and debating among themselves in alien languages that Elliot's translator couldn't fully interpret. After 3 tense days, Zorix delivered their preliminary assessment. Earth was to be classified as a biohazard level 3 planet. Its inhabitants could travel to Alliance facilities only under strict containment protocols, and the planet itself would be subject to quarantine measures. "This is absurd," Elliot protested during an emergency conference with the assessors. "You can't quarantine an entire planet because its natural atmosphere is different from what you're used to." "Not different, Ambassador Moore," replied the crystalline assessor. "Hostile. Your world constantly produces a gas that would kill most Alliance citizens upon exposure. That alone makes Earth potentially the most dangerous planet we've encountered in centuries." "But we're not a threat," Elliot insisted. "We've lived with oxygen for millions of years. It's part of our biology. We didn't create it to harm anyone." "Intent is irrelevant," said the insectoid assessor. "The risk remains. The delegation reports that if an Earth vessel were to rupture within an Alliance station, the oxygen release could kill thousands." Lena, who had been quietly analyzing the data, stepped forward. "Honorable assessors, if I may, I believe there's another way to view this situation. All attention turned to her. What humans perceive as normal, you perceive as dangerous. But couldn't the reverse also be true? What if this difference isn't a barrier but an opportunity? Explain, commanded one of the assessors. Oxygen is reactive, yes. But that reactivity is precisely what makes it valuable. It drives chemical processes that would be impossible in other environments. It enables energy production methods that might be entirely novel to the Alliance, and most importantly, it has medicinal properties that could revolutionize treatment for certain conditions. Elliot caught on to Lena's strategy. Dr. Sato is right. The very thing that makes Earth seem dangerous could be its greatest contribution to the Alliance. We need to study this further to find applications that benefit everyone. The assessors deliberated their communication methods inscrutable to human observation. Finally, the crystalline one spoke. We will permit a limited research initiative. A secure facility will be established in Earth orbit where Alliance scientists can work with human counterparts to explore potential applications of oxygen-based technologies. But the quarantine remains in effect until we determine whether the benefits outweigh the risks. It wasn't the outcome Elliot had hoped for, but it was better than complete isolation. Over the next 6 months, the Orbital Research Station became a hub of collaborative science. Lena led the human team working closely with alien biologists and chemists to explore oxygen's properties. Their first breakthrough came when they discovered that controlled exposure to oxygen could extend the lifespan of certain bacterial cultures used in Alliance medicine. The reactivity that made oxygen dangerous also made it effective at neutralizing certain pathogens that plagued Alliance worlds. But progress was slow, and opposition within the Alliance grew. A faction led by the Zorak, the gelatinous purple species, began advocating for stronger quarantine measures. They argued that humans were inherently dangerous, a species evolved to thrive in poison, who could potentially weaponize their very breath against other life forms. Elliot found himself fighting on 2 fronts, trying to advance the research while countering the political movement to isolate Earth permanently. His unexpected ally came in the form of Thoron, a scientist from a species called the Vex. The Vex were one of the few Alliance members who didn't find oxygen immediately toxic, though prolonged exposure would still harm them. Your Dr. Sato's work is promising, Thoran told Elliot during a private meeting. My people have been struggling with a degenerative condition that affects our neural pathways. The preliminary tests suggest that oxygen-derived compounds might slow or even reverse the progression. That's excellent news, Elliot said, feeling a glimmer of hope. Will you support us at the next council meeting? Thoran's skin, which resembled polished copper, rippled in what Elliot had learned was their equivalent of a cautious nod. I will present the medical data, but you should know that the Zorak are pushing for a vote to reclassify Earth as a biohazard level 4 planet, the highest threat level. But why we've made progress? We're proving oxygen has beneficial applications. It's precisely because you're proving useful that they fear you, Thoran explained. A species that can survive in conditions lethal to others, that can manipulate a substance we consider dangerous as easily as we breathe our own atmospheres, such a species might eventually hold too much power. Elliot pondered this perspective. From the beginning, he had thought that Earth's problem was being seen as too weak, too primitive. Now he understood that the real fear was Earth's potential strength. The research continued with Lena's team making steady advances. They developed filtration systems that could safely extract oxygen from Earth's atmosphere for controlled use. They created sealed medical chambers where oxygen could be administered in precise doses to treat specific conditions. They even began exploring how oxygen's reactivity could be harnessed for new energy production methods. But the political situation deteriorated. At a contentious Alliance Council meeting, the Zorak representative formally proposed classifying humans as a potentially hostile species and Earth as a restricted zone. These creatures breathe poison and have evolved to weaponize a chemical that kills most sentient life. The Zorak argued its purple mass pulsating with emotion. They cannot be trusted with Alliance membership or technology. The vote was scheduled for the following week. Elliot knew that if it passed, Earth would be effectively cut off from galactic society for generations. All their work would be for nothing. In desperation, he sought out Thoron again. There must be something we can do, some way to change their minds. Thoron seemed hesitant. There is a possibility, but it carries significant risk. Tell me, Elliot insisted. The Vex homeworld is currently battling an epidemic of neural degradation. Thousands are suffering with no effective treatment. If we could demonstrate that oxygen-based therapy works on a large scale, not just in laboratory conditions, it might sway enough council members to defeat the Zorak proposal. You want to treat Vex patients with our oxygen technology. Is that even possible given the current restrictions? Not officially, Thoran admitted, but I could arrange transport for a small human medical team to a Vex research facility, if you're willing to take that risk. It was a dangerous proposition. Unauthorized travel to an Alliance world could be seen as an act of aggression. If discovered, it could give the Zorak exactly the evidence they needed to convince the Council that humans were a threat. But the alternative was Earth's isolation. Elliot made his decision. I'll speak with Dr. Sato. If she believes the treatment is ready for clinical trials, we'll do it. Lena was cautious but determined. The oxygen neurotherapy has shown promising results in all our simulations. But moving to live subjects, especially without proper Alliance approval, that's a massive leap. If we don't take this chance, we might never get another, Elliot argued. The Zorak are moving against us, and we're running out of allies. After careful consideration, Lena agreed. She assembled a small team of specialists and the necessary equipment. Thoran arranged for their covert transport to the Vex facility disguised as a shipment of standard medical supplies. The journey was tense. If they were discovered, they would undoubtedly be arrested, and Earth's situation would worsen dramatically. But they reached the Vex facility without incident, where they found dozens of patients in advanced stages of neural degradation. Lena and her team worked tirelessly administering carefully calculated oxygen treatments to the Vex patients. The initial results were promising: improved neural function, reduced symptom severity, and no adverse reactions to the controlled oxygen exposure. Word of the treatments spread through the Vex community, and soon other families were bringing their afflicted members to the facility. What had begun as a small clinical trial became a major medical intervention. But secrets rarely remain hidden in the interconnected Alliance. The Zorak somehow learned of the unauthorized human presence on the Vex world and immediately filed a formal complaint with the Council. Humans have infiltrated an Alliance world without authorization, the Zorak representative declared. They are exposing Alliance citizens to their toxic atmosphere. This proves their hostile intent and the need for immediate containment. Elliot was summoned before the Council to answer for his actions. The chamber was tense with representatives from across the galaxy, watching to see how the human would defend himself. Ambassador Moore, the insectoid assessor, began. You stand accused of violating quarantine protocols and endangering Alliance citizens. How do you respond? Elliot looked around the chamber, seeing hostility in many alien faces, but also curiosity, and even a few expressions he interpreted as support. I acknowledge that we acted without formal authorization, he admitted, but we did not act without purpose or care. We went to help to heal, to demonstrate that what makes humans different doesn't make us a threat. It makes us valuable. You exposed Vex citizens to a substance classified as toxic, countered the Zorak representative. With their consent and under carefully controlled conditions, Elliot responded, and the results speak for themselves. At that moment, the chamber doors opened and Thoron entered, accompanied by several Vex, who moved with strength and coordination that would have been impossible for neural degradation sufferers. These are the patients who received the human oxygen therapy, Thoran announced. All were in advanced stages of neural degradation with projected life expectancies of less than 1 cycle. Now they show 70% restoration of neural function with continuing improvement. Murmurs spread through the chamber as council members observed the recovered Vex. "This is deception," the Zorak representative protested. "These cannot be the same individuals." "Medical records have been provided to the council," Thoran replied calmly. "The evidence is clear. The human oxygen therapy is effective against a condition that has plagued my species for generations. Yes, they came to our world without formal approval, but they came to save lives and they succeeded." The council deliberated for hours. Elliot, Lena, and their team waited anxiously for the verdict. Finally, they were called back to the chamber. The crystalline assessor spoke first. "The actions of the Earth representatives violated our protocols. This cannot be disputed." Elliot's heart sank. However, the assessor continued, "Their intent was clearly benevolent, and the results cannot be ignored. The Council has therefore decided to lift the biohazard classification for controlled human medical teams, allowing them to work within Alliance facilities under appropriate safety measures." It wasn't full acceptance, but it was a start. Over the following months, human medical researchers worked with various Alliance species, developing treatments that utilized oxygen's unique properties. Each success built more goodwill, though suspicion and fear remained. A year after the first contact with the Alliance, Elliot stood once again in Conference Room Alpha, facing the assessors. This time he wasn't alone. Lena stood beside him, along with Thoran and representatives from 3 other Alliance species who had benefited from oxygen-based technologies. "Ambassador Moore," said the insectoid assessor, "the Council has reviewed Earth's application for Alliance membership, as well as the data from the joint research initiatives over the past year." Elliot held his breath. "We have determined that while Earth remains a planet with unique hazards, those same unique qualities provide significant value to the Alliance. Therefore, we are granting Earth provisional membership status." The chamber erupted in a cacophony of sounds as various species expressed their reactions. Not all were positive. The Zorak delegation left the chamber in what was clearly protest, but many seemed cautiously accepting. Provisional membership means that Earth will have limited voting rights for a probationary period of 5 cycles, the assessor explained. During this time, human movement throughout Alliance space will still be subject to safety protocols, but your research teams will have increased access to Alliance facilities and data. It was more than Elliot had dared to hope for. Earth wasn't fully accepted yet, but they had a foot in the door. "Thank you, honorable assessors," he said, bowing slightly. "Earth accepts these terms and commits to proving our value as allies." As the formal session ended, Thoran approached Elliot and Lena. "This is only the beginning," the Vex scientist said. "The journey ahead will not be easy. Many still fear what humans represent, a species that thrives in conditions that would kill most of us. But you've shown that difference can be strength, not just a threat." "We've all shown that," Lena corrected gently. "None of this would have happened without your trust, Thoran." Elliot gazed out at the stars visible through the station's transparent dome. Somewhere out there was Earth, a tiny blue dot that had just taken its first real step into a much larger universe. "When we first came here, I thought our weakness was that we were too primitive, too new to space travel," he reflected. "I never imagined that our greatest challenge would be that we were too alien, too different in our basic biology. And yet that difference is becoming your greatest asset," Thoran observed. "The Alliance has existed for millennia, but in some ways we've become stagnant. Species so similar that they present no challenge to each other's understanding, rarely inspire new discoveries." "So we're useful because we're dangerous?" Elliot asked with a wry smile. "You're valuable because you're different," Lena said, "and because you've shown that difference doesn't have to mean division." In the years that followed, Earth's position within the Alliance slowly strengthened. Human medical teams working under careful protocols brought oxygen-based treatments to worlds suffering from conditions that traditional Alliance medicine couldn't address. Earth scientists collaborating with alien counterparts developed new energy technologies that harnessed oxygen's reactivity. the tensions never fully disappeared. Some species like the Zorak continued to view humans with suspicion and advocated for stricter controls. Incidents occurred, accidents where containment protocols failed, resulting in injuries or deaths, political crises when human representatives inadvertently violated cultural taboos, conflicts over resource rights and technology sharing. But with each challenge, humans demonstrated their most valuable trait, adaptability. They learned from mistakes, adjusted their approaches, found compromises where none seemed possible. Elliot, now serving as Earth's permanent ambassador to the Alliance, often reflected on the irony of their situation. Humans had entered galactic society thinking they needed to prove their strength only to discover that what others feared was not their weakness but their alien nature, their ability to thrive in conditions that most found lethal. In the end, it wasn't conquest or technological superiority that earned humans their place among the stars. It was their willingness to turn a potential barrier into a bridge to transform what made them dangerous into something that could heal and help others. And as Earth celebrated the 10th anniversary of first contact with ships from a dozen Alliance worlds in orbit and alien visitors exploring the planet under special breathing apparatus, Elliot knew that humanity's journey was just beginning. They had much to learn, many mistakes yet to make, and countless discoveries ahead. But they had found their unique role in the cosmic community, not as conquerors or subjects, but as the species that breathed life into the galaxy, one carefully controlled breath at a time.